Good morning. Just watching Sean's channel. It's a lazy Sunday morning, so just going to be doing some pottering around today. Right, not been up long, but first things first, cup of coffee. Going to go for some caffeinated today, so we'll get some beans ground. Might have a little wander upstairs in a minute and I'll show you around the studio and what I've done so far. Talk about some of my little adventures that I've been having and experiments that I've been participating in. But I have to say a huge thank you to everybody for the comments. I've been getting so many amazing comments with loads of really good ideas, and I've been going through every single comment, making a note of them. Lots and lots of good advice on like lighting and stuff for the studio as well. In fact, I had a couple of videos lined up ready to go, but they're now so far out of date that I've just scrapped them. I'm just going to make this new video today because I was showing you things that I've since learned are completely, no good whatsoever, and I've swapped things around again. So I thought it was a bit unfair to put them up and then have you comment on, all of these things that I know are wrong and I know I've done wrong and I've moved on since. But it just seems a little, what's the word, unfair to, put that video up knowing that everything has changed and I've already moved on. There we go. One clean porter filter. Right, let's get some milk. Now I'm doing milk at the moment. I'm still happy to report that I haven't put on any extra weight, even though I'm not doing full carnivore at the moment. I'm doing kind of ketovore, so I'm still doing one meal a day, and instead of all meat I'm doing things like avocados and yogurt. I've got Greek yogurt which I'm using, and a little bit of mint sauce in the Greek yogurt on top of the avocados, which is nice. And I'm doing the tinned fish as well, so I'm doing 1 tin of tuna and 1 tin of sardines and 1 tin of mackerel every day with all that, and then I'll throw in like a burger or some sort of meat. So I'll throw in a burger or some bacon. Actually, that reminds me, I've got to get some bacon out of the freezer, so we'll get that defrosting. I'll leave that on the side there, but let's get this milk heated up. I'm on a different tripod today, and every time I pick it up the legs close up, which is awkward, so I need 2 hands every time I move the camera now. And I'll show you why. I've actually had to use the tripod I normally use. I've had to use that for lighting upstairs, but I'll show you it shortly. Let's just get this milk heated up. This steam thing is great. If you've got a slightly cold cup of tea, it heats it up like that. Although it can be a bit noisy to use. There we go, that's red hot. Got to wipe that off straight away, otherwise it sets on there. And then you've got to give it a little blast with steam again. There we go, and we're good to go. So I'll chuck that in there. Oh yeah, yep. There it is. There it is. Oh, that's a message from Sean. I just sent him a video. I don't know if you remember when I was doing the carnivore diet, I sort of mentioned my buddy Josh in the States. He was doing carnivore at the same time as me. And Josh put a video up this morning It was brilliant. I'm going to leave a link to it below. He basically, it was like he'd filmed it so that he'd snuck into my little studio upstairs, and the way he'd done it was brilliant. So I'll leave a link below, so go on over to Josh's channel at the end of this. I'll give you a reminder at the end, and just click the link, and it's really funny. He's a really creative guy, and he's got he does some amazing green screen. I've struggled my entire 16 years on YouTube. I've struggled to get green screen right. I always get all sorts of overspill and reflection issues. He's sussed out green screen, and he's got these absolutely remarkable results. Anyway, I'll leave a link below. But I just shared that video with Sean James Cameron, and he just wrote back and said, "Love it." Right, let's have a little wander upstairs, and I'll show you what's been going on in the studio. Right, I'm going to take you off the tripod for a minute. Don't like this tripod. It's a thin, spindly one, and every time I pick it up, the legs close together, so I can't put it up again without messing about. Now, originally, I was using this tripod, but I've had to nick this tripod for this light because it's got a swivel on it, and this is heavy duty enough to hold that light, but this isn't. This is far too thin and spindly. But I've done a bit of an upgrade on my light, and I've gone over to this honeycomb diffuser hood, which has made all the difference, because the light only goes on me and it doesn't spill out into the room and cast shadows everywhere, which is good. I got rid of those little lights and got a proper video light as well, which is pretty good. And you can adjust the temperature of it, so you can either have it in daylight or warm white, which is good. But yeah, here we are in the studio. I think you're on super wide angle. Actually, I can put you on. No, I can't. I'll just have to hold you. But I went for a table, and I've got my little laptop here, and it all kind of works much better this way, where you've got that distance in the background. And I've been using the cinematic setting on the iPhone. I've been actually filming with the iPhone, and I've done 2 episodes of my sort of fireside chat podcasts, but unfortunately there's a problem. Now, the whole point, actually, I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll explain this to you from the podcasting perspective, and then you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Right, there we go. That's just the basic setup. Just thought I'd show you this before I jump onto the camera, but we've got the basic setup here, and we've gone for a warm white. I'm just going to brighten that up a little bit. But it looks nice and cozy, but I'll show you what the problem is. So this is the arrangement that I've settled on for the little fireside chat ASMR type podcast that I had in mind, and it's not a bad little setup. You know, the background there has fallen into sort of blurriness, hopefully, and it doesn't look too bad. Now, I had the idea it was going to be like a little quiet chat by the fireside, using my ASMR voice, and just the idea was it was just going to be a talking voice, you know, guy in front of a camera with this setup, talking voice, but talking in that very, very, actually I can do it better. I do it better when I'm leaning back. Just that kind of dulcet tone ASMR voice that makes you fall asleep. And that was the plan for the podcast, and I was going to film it for YouTube and then do audio only for, you know, iTunes and Apple and Spotify. So the idea is I've got this script, and this is the script for the entire podcast. Sorry, I keep handling the mic. And the idea is that in order to make it look like I'm looking into the camera, what you do is you shrink down your notepad thing to just 4 lines that's like literally 1 inch below the the height of the lens. So the lens is there and the script is there, and you just gently scroll through as you read. So like acknowledging the elephant in the room so we can figure out how to walk around it. So the problem with the video is, even though I'm reading from a script that's literally positioned 1 inch below the camera lens, it still looks like I'm reading from a screen. So it looks a bit rubbish, and it doesn't look it's not very sincere. And also, when I'm reading a script, I'll show you, my face is like I'm just concentrating, and I've got this almost frown going on my face, and it's just not very good. So look, let me do it. let me read a paragraph from the script, and you'll see what I mean. First off, feeling wobbly in times of change isn't just you. It's a human thing. It's okay to admit that sometimes lost my place. Sometimes we don't have it all figured out. The first step to finding stability, well, it's letting ourselves feel unsettled without panicking. It's it's just pure cheese. This is pure cheese. Now, it works fine without the camera, without like muggins here on the camera. So if I just put a little card up or a nice picture, that's fine. But to have me on the camera saying that is just so insincere and so cheesy. But I had to go through it in order to learn that that's the case. And also, when I'm reading from a script, I do this thing with my eyebrows, and it's where I'm concentrating, trying to get the script right. And it almost looks like I'm frowning as I'm reading. So this reading out ASMR scripts in front of a camera is just not going to work. So I'm going to have to reserve that, the ASMR like fireside thing, I'm going to have to reserve that for audio only. So on the YouTube podcast, when I put it up on video, it's literally going to have a card rather than this setup. But that's just one podcast of others that I'm looking into, and I'm actually thinking of doing like the Rick Van Man podcast. It kind of makes sense. I'm Rick Van Man. I've been on YouTube for 16 years with Rick Van Man, so the idea of a Rick Van Man podcast makes sense, and this setting could be okay for that. And as Rick Van Man, I can ad-lib, rather than read from a script, I can actually look directly at the lens and chat away and sort of look around and be a lot more natural. Sorry, I keep hitting the microphone with my hand. So, even if I just have some bullet points on the screen, just to say, oh yeah, you're talking about blah, blah, and we can talk about this. So that's where I'm at so far, but I like this setup basically because it's permanently set up, so I can just jump in and start recording in a matter of minutes. All I've got to do is turn the lights on, turn the mics on, and away we go. Now, at the moment, I am still recording using the Rode Connect software, which came with the Rode pod mic, and it's quite good because it does everything you need it to. It's even got some little sound effects. Not quite sure how loud they are, but hopefully if I need to, where are we? Got sad trombone. I've got to make a joke or say something ironic. I can't hear. I haven't got my headphones on, so I can't hear whether they came out or not, but you can load up other sounds. Apparently I haven't figured out how to do it yet. But so it's pretty good. It's like not a bad little bit of freebie software. It's called Rode Connect. But the thing is, it only works when I'm connected via USB, which I have. I've got USB connection on here. This is a dual connect mic, so I've got USB and XLR. Now, the thing is, this is quite a quiet microphone, and I have to do a lot of post-production work to boost the gain up. The raw recording from this is pretty low, but it was suggested that I get one of these, which is it's like an inline audio booster. It runs on phantom power, and it boosts your output by a gain of 30 decibels. So I'm going to need to try that. But it does mean scrapping the USB cable and swapping it out for XLR, which means I've got to go through a whole other route, and it does mean I lose the recording device on here, but I can record on Audacity. So there's a lot more fiddling about in my future anyway, but I will suss it out. I enjoy doing this sort of thing, so it's all good. Anyway, let's go and have another potter. So yeah, Rick Van Man podcast. Have you got any ideas what I can include on there? I'm thinking it could be along the same lines as, when I do a drive and a natter, or just kind of shoot the breeze and just talk about life, the universe and everything. But if you've got any specific subjects, then do feel free to let me know, and I'll put them on my list, and we can have some fun with it. Right, the only problem to recording in cinematic mode on the phone is you have to process the footage. Now, right now, it's given me this footage, which it's very clear in the background. And so all it's done is it's recorded in video mode, like normal video mode, even though I had it on cinematic mode. But it has to process this. Now, this video is 12 minutes, just under 13 minutes long. And in order to offload this onto my computer and have the blurry background, I have to now process it. You have to go through this thing. As soon as you plug in your computer link cable, it says, this has to be processed before you can download it. So you say, okay, process, and then it takes like an hour. It takes so long. The other day I did a 57-minute long cinematic video on the iPhone, and it took the better part of about 3 hours just to process it. It was an insane amount of time just to get that blurry background. I mean, it was worth it in the end, kind of, even though the video footage didn't work in the setting. But what's going to happen is if I do more of these blurry background things, my good friend Damon, he's just getting back into photography, and I think he's just got himself some nice equipment. So I'm going to get him over here, and we're going to try out some of his camera equipment and see whether we can come up with a proper camera that isn't going to break the bank, that will give me the same sort of footage that I'm going to get on the iPhone without that ridiculous amount of processing time. So anyway, I'll figure it out. But yeah, I'm going to set this to, what have I got? I've got 99% battery. The thing is, it eats through the battery as well. This processing thing, it's such a big deal. I think it's got so many frames that it has to individually render. It really, really sort of takes it out of this thing. And I think the last time I did that 3-hour rendering, I had to put it on an iPad charger just to keep the battery from running down. So it's all a bit Heath Robinson. I'm hoping Apple will figure this out eventually. But at the moment, it's just sort of it kind of works, but you've got to jump through a lot of hoops to make it work. But never mind, first world problems. So anyway, I'm going to set this rendering, and then I'll come back. I also forgot to mention that I've got the other wall covered now as well. I forgot that there were 2 videos that I was going to put up, but I decided not to. But I forgot they actually showed some of the progress that I've made. So seeing this video has been probably quite a leap from the last one. But yeah, we've gone for the wall here as well. And again, these are just held up with these little map pins. But these were the little triangular, much cheaper bits of foam, and they do a fantastic job, but they don't look as good as these ones, which these ones cost a bit more. But I had a few left over, so I sort of built those up as a little pattern there. But the beauty of it is this room now has no reverb. There is, with everything on the ceiling as well, literally the only bare bits of wall are the bits between the tiles and the tiny bits of wall around the top there. Even on the back of the door, I actually had a couple of spare tiles, so I put those on there. So there we go. That's pretty much the studio sort of done and dusted and ready for action. Now the thing is, because I've focused on nothing else for the past, 2 weeks now, is it? I think I'm kind of a bit burned out of it. So what I need to do now is kind of sit back, allow some recovery time, and then hopefully the creative juices will start to flow once again. And we can start thinking about getting a bit creative with the studio. Like I say, I want to do like video podcasts, but I've got to nail down exactly what I want to do. Obviously, I'm going to be doing the voice-only ones for the ASMR stuff, just purely as an experiment, just to see whether it's worth doing or not. But I definitely think a Rick Van Man podcast would be good, and I can put it on my channel as well, because the ASMR stuff, there's no way I'm going to put that on my channel because it's so unrelated. So I'm going to open a whole separate YouTube channel for that, and that'll be a thing in its own right. But a Rick Van Man podcast, I could put podcast episodes up on the channel, so that should be good. Also forgot to mention, I killed the cat. No, I didn't kill the cat. I got rid of the cat. You wouldn't believe the number of comments I had in the previous videos about get rid of the cat, it's distracting. And then there was a whole Marmite thing with the fireplace. Now, the fireplace is there purely for the, well, originally was purely for the, the fireside chat type podcast. But if I'm not going to be doing visuals for that particular podcast, then I don't actually need the fireplace. Although I've got nowhere to put it now. There's literally no space in here. Maybe I could potentially tuck it up into that corner over there, or maybe in front of the window, although my TV is under the curtain there, leaned up against the window. But I kind of need the space, so all of this is reserved. And the thing is, I've got used to not having the fireplace downstairs now, so I've got this surplus to requirement. Maybe I'll just have to stick it on Facebook, and I'll probably sell it. I wouldn't just give it away, because it's a good little fireplace, that. Although it has got a few scars on it, so I had to put a bit of white tape on it just to cover up the scars. So I'll have a ponder on the fireplace, but I might get rid of it. We'll see. There's nowhere else I can think to put it. But yeah, once again, thanks for the feedback on the last couple of videos. Like I say, it was what inspired me to give up on the two videos I've literally held back. I was going to publish them one after the other on consecutive days, just to sort of play catch up, but decided, like I say, because I've moved on so much, it didn't seem right to post them, because they were just so not relevant anymore. Anyway, we're waiting on a Sainsbury's delivery. I was going to go for a walk today, but I've got a delivery coming right at the awkward time. It's going to be like 2:30, so I kind of got to be in for that. I've got an hour or two to kill. Chatting with Sean the other day, we're still on for a visit. I'm going to aim off to Wales at some point, hopefully in the next few weeks. Now, at the moment, I've got Guinevere booked in for a service. Now, it's the major service. It's the 60,000 mile service. It's 6 years old, and it's going to be a big, expensive service. They've already quoted me. This is like main dealer for because I've had main dealer service right for the 6 years, and I've got everything, stamped in the book and everything to sort of retain its value. But this service is going to cost close to £1,000. They've got to change all sorts of belts and braces and all the rest of it. So that's going to really break the bank. The thing is, I'm a bit broke already. I've got a fund for my hobbies and stuff like that. And what happens is I've got like a little separate account, and I just squirrel a few little bits away, and often I'll sell some of my hobby stuff to sort of make up, if I want to move on from a hobby, then I'll sell some bits, and then that goes into my hobby fund or my creative fund. And then that's what was able to fund the build of the studio. You just sort of leave it alone, let it build up for sort of months and months and months, and then eventually you got enough to launch. With when you're feeling so inclined to do something creative, and that's exactly what I did with the studio. But I'm a bit wiped out this month because, like I say, I've got this big servicing bill coming up. I've also, while it's there, I've got to have the MOT done, and they're going to repair the rodent damage again. So I don't know how much that's going to cost because the mice keep chewing through my wires. But I'm going to dig out some rodent tape. I've got some rodent tape in the back of the van somewhere, and I'm going to leave it on the seat with a note saying, please stick this tape on the wires when you replace them, so that hopefully the mice won't chew through them again. But yeah, going to be a heavy month this month, and I think I've got car insurance as well coming up, and those premiums have all gone up. So I'm definitely wiped out this month. But anyway, going back to Sean, yeah, we're looking at going to visit Sean, hopefully, if I can get Gwen through, you know, the MOT and all fixed up, because at the moment I've got a dashboard full of lights, so I'm not that confident on going long distances. But once all those lights on my dashboard have gone out and she's functioning properly again, then I can start thinking about getting out there and pushing that bubble out this year to try to get some distance, try to get some trips where I'm going further and further away from home, because I'm still got that thing that I'm trying to do this year. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Gwen's like not booked in till the end of the week, so I've got to kind of kill another week before she's fixed, and then we'll go from there. But haircut tomorrow. So it's all good. Right then, the other thing I was going to mention was this table. It's just a little cheapy fold-away table, but it's also height adjustable. And I figured if ever I wanted to go bigger with the podcast and have a setting for 2 or 4 people even, I could have like a bunch of these. I've got 2 of these already. If I were to get another 2, I could literally have like 2 and 2, and it would be like a one big long table. Probably put some sort of a cloth over it so it looks like just one big table. Maybe even fasten them together somehow. Possibly even have a TV at one end with, you know, whatever. And then like 1, 2, 3, 4, I could get 4 people at the table. Obviously, I'd have to figure out microphones and things, but that's another layout option for this room. So it's a really, really handy way, because these are fold-away tables. So, you know, it's not a case of buying this massive, great big conference table that's just going to be in the way forever. I can just unfold them when they're needed, and then when they're not needed, they'll fold away, lean up against the wall. They'll barely encroach into the room. So that is going to be my solution if I want to sort of step things up later on and have podcasts with more than one person in. That is one opportunity. We can have a big table, all sat around a big table, like I say, some sort of TV screen or some sort of... I was even thinking about one of those, what do you call it, like neon logos. You can get those custom made. I was going to do it for that like Chat by the Fire thing, podcast, but then I realised, as I said earlier, it's just not going to work visually, but it will work, you know, audio only, which is traditionally what podcasts are all about. I mean, some people are saying, I don't understand why you want podcast on video. And to be honest, right up until very, very recently, podcasts have all purely been audio only. But there is now a thing called video podcasts. And in the last year or so, they've suddenly taken off, and YouTube has now taken an interest and actually does a podcast playlist. Now, if you make video podcasts and put them on the YouTube podcast playlist, they then get distributed and promoted on, I think it's YouTube Music. So they've got a much, much greater chance of being found and discovered. So that's pretty much the thinking behind video podcast. You can still distribute them, you know, as well to your iTunes and your Spotify and your Amazon, and they'll be audio only. But just for the sake of the YouTube podcast, if you stick a camera on as well, then you've got a much greater chance of your podcast being discovered. So that's my thinking anyway. Right, there we go. The movie was exported to your photo library. Right, so I'm going to try importing that now, and then I'll do a direct comparison between the unprocessed one and the processed one, and we'll see what it looks like. Right then, so this is the unprocessed footage, and you can see it's very slightly blurred in the background, but what I have noticed is I've got LED flicker going on my surround on the fire, which I hadn't noticed before. But if I swap this out for the one that's been rendered, which is this one, and I go to the same place, you can see this is a lot more blurry. The flickering is still there, so it's a bit rubbish, but I'm crystal clear. But you can see this computer generated blur around my head. It's struggling with the fuzziness of my hair, and also the seats popping in and out of focus. So it's obviously it's artificially created. You know, it's like emulating this deep, the shallow depth of field, even though it's not actually doing it by the looks of it. But all that for 2 hours of waiting? No. I'm afraid at this stage I'm going to have to conclude that the iPhone cinematic setting is a bit rubbish at the moment. No doubt they will make it better, but I'm not going to do anything, you know, in the immediate future, because I can't, because I'm now broke. But at some point in the distant future, if I keep doing this type of like a studio-based thing, then I will look into a decent camera, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. So for now, I'll just keep struggling with the iPhone and the cinematic stuff. But there we go. That's my little catch up from Rick World. That's where I'm at the moment, just pottering around, doing all sorts of nonsense with this studio, and just I've got a week of I've got loads of bits and bobs on next week that I've got to get, you know, sort of sorted out, a lot of administration stuff, and then hopefully after next week I should be free to start going out and doing stuff and you know, getting my life back, and hopefully by then spring may have sprung. I'm not sure what date we're on now. I think we're on the 17th of March, so this is going to be like towards the end of March, so hopefully I can get on and start doing stuff. But that's it from me. So don't forget to nip over to Josh's channel. I'll put the link below, and you can see that video that he did, which is really good. And also, if you've got any ideas on what I can do with that studio, and you know, any kind of content ideas for Rick Van Man podcasts, that'll be good. And I think I've just got a delivery arrived. So on that note, thank you for watching. Have a great rest of the day, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care.